reason why I left religion, church, Christianity, and fundamentalism is that church calls illegal crimes just sin. Now, if you've ever been in a church that does this, it's time to get out. The problem with this terminology, we call it downgrading. My therapist and I talked about this a lot. Luckily, I never experienced this firsthand as a survivor or as a bystander. But for people who have, this is probably a crime. Because people who believe that a crime is a sin instead of calling it a crime are probably not going to the police about sins that are really mandatory reporting. In general, any form of misconduct, sexual, threats, harassment, and it doesn't even have to involve what we would term misconduct. Anything like a married man of 35 having sex with a 15-year-old girl in the congregation. Not only is it illegal, statutory, it is the grossest misuse of power. A pastor should never have a relationship with someone in his church. Calling it a sin, I would not have a problem if they said this person committed a grievous, illegal sexual crime. And because he's a Christian, he also committed a horrible sin. I would not be making this video. The problem is they always lead with sin and never say crime. Or if you're lucky to be in a church that does mention the crime part, it's always second. I have read so many stories of pastors on Google that got caught with someone as young as 10, all the way up to 45 years of age. You cannot have a consensual, ethical relationship with somebody you're in authority over. It's as though you're a supervisor and your flock are your subordinates. There is no equality there. Before God, if you believe that sort of thing, you're equal, but not in church. Who do you think people are going to believe when someone says he did misconduct? I didn't do misconduct. 98% of the time, they're going to side with the person in power. They can lose a female member. She's replaceable in their minds. But we can't lose this paragon of male virtue. And I read something online. This man admitted on stage, and the video is on YouTube. I think he was a Baptist preacher, but don't quote me. If you Google white male pastor in a Christian church who admitted that he had an inappropriate relationship with a young lady and he regrets it. The problem is he was in his 30s, if I remember correctly. She was around the age of 15. Yeah. She wasn't a young lady. She was barely a teenager. 15-year-olds can't legally drive alone. They can't drink. They're not an adult. A young lady would probably be 18 to 29. A young adult. She's not a young lady. She is a teenager. So not only is it a crime, it's a misuse of power. He groomed her. abused her, forced himself on her in his office. And when he confesses to it on stage, he doesn't say it was a crime. He said it was an unfortunate incident with a young lady. He made it seem like he had an affair or something. And when she finally makes it onto the stage with her current husband, who is not a happy camper, I'd say, she's yelling at him about his horrible misuse of authority. And she didn't even know that it was abuse when she was harmed. And she's in her mid-30s now. And this was like a year or two ago, I think. He frames it as though she was a consenting mistress or a one-time stand and he regrets. He makes it sound like everything's legal and he just made an oopsie. No, he committed statutory assault. Forced himself on a woman, on a very young teenager who isn't even mature enough to understand consent with her own age partner, let alone a man who's probably traveled to many countries, has degrees, and probably has millions of followers on TikTok or Facebook. He probably doesn't anymore, by the way. And it's always labeled as a incident, a young lady. I did something that was unfortunately construed as inappropriate. It's never, I groomed, I assaulted, I